All this time, you thought being attentive would win her over. That texting back fast meant you were showing care. That noticing her new nails or remembering her cat's name made you stand out. You were told women want to be seen, heard, adored, so you made her feel special. You complimented her at the exact right moment. You asked questions about her childhood. You opened doors and sent good morning texts. You gave her everything she claimed she wanted, and still, somehow, she drifted. She pulled away. She stopped trying. You felt her excitement dry up like wine left open overnight. It doesn't make sense until you realize the brutal truth: women don't get hooked by validation. They get hooked by tension, by mystery, by the man who doesn't blink when she tries to impress him. That's the switch, and it's a hard one. But by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to become the kind of man she can't shake even when she tries to. You're used to watching her eyes light up when she talks about herself. You think that's the moment she bonds with you? You lean in, nod, echo her stories back to her with enthusiasm because someone once told you that's how you build rapport. That's how you show you're a good guy. But she doesn't crave rapport. She craves edge. She doesn't fantasize about a man who understands her. She obsesses over a man she can't quite read. A man who makes her wonder, why doesn't he chase me like the others? Why do I feel more alive when he looks at me like he already knows me but still doesn't flinch? You think interest is expressed in praise, but you forget that every other man is doing exactly that. You've just joined the background noise, because when you act impressed too soon, what you're really doing is declaring emotional bankruptcy. You're saying you're more valuable than me. I need your approval more than you need mine. She feels that imbalance instantly, even if she can't name it. And once she feels it, the game is over. You're no longer the prize. You're the applicant. The moment you try to win her, you already lost her. Now picture this. She's telling a story at the table, like she's waiting for the reaction she always gets. Her eyes glance sideways to measure the effect, and instead of leaning in, you just smile faintly. You nod once. She blinks. She's thrown off. She keeps talking. You still don't give her the validation spike she's used to. She tries harder. She tilts her head, laughs louder, drops some subtle innuendo. You stay calm, polite, present, but not moved. You've flipped the dynamic. You've triggered the drug her nervous system can't quit: uncertainty. Now she's no longer in control of how you feel about her. And that's the hook. Most men confuse generosity with self-abandonment. You think you're being kind when you let her steer the mood? When you match her energy, mirror her tone, give her emotional space to feel like the star? You're not being kind. You're being forgettable. Because the man she remembers is the one who made her nervous, who made her wonder, what does he see in me instead of, he obviously likes me? It's not cruelty. It's not arrogance. It's gravity. You aren't there to orbit her. You're a force in your own right. And forces don't explain themselves. Let's be clear, this isn't about withholding for the sake of it. This isn't about playing games. It's about presence without performance, stillness without supplication. You don't need to impress her because your life already carries a quiet weight. You're building something. You're grounded. Your energy doesn't spike just because she walked into the room. And that's exactly why she starts leaning closer. Because she feels something she rarely feels: respect. You haven't put her on a pedestal. You're meeting her eye to eye. That alone separates you from the crowd. The men she forgets are the ones who try too hard to be memorable. The men she can't stop thinking about are the ones who weren't trying at all. Not because they didn't care, but because they didn't need her to complete them. And when you don't need her to complete you, she starts fantasizing about being part of your world. But let's bring it closer. Let's talk about the moment she tests you. It could be small. She makes a sarcastic jab, flirts with another guy in front of you, drops a story about how wild she used to be. That's not casual. That's a test. She's watching to see how grounded you are. Most guys tense up, laugh nervously, try to steer it back to safer ground. You don't react. You let the silence breathe. You smile like you've heard this all before, and you probably have. You don't correct her. You don't chase reassurance. You let her feel the weight of your unshaken presence. In that moment, you become something rare. Not just a man, but a mirror. And mirrors don't flinch. Now here's the challenge. The next time you find yourself about to give a compliment, stop. Ask yourself, am I giving this because I genuinely feel it, or because I want her to like me more? If it's the second, stay silent. Hold that tension. Let her feel the space you're not rushing to fill. You'll be surprised how much more magnetic you become when you stop trying to prove your worth. Because the real flex isn't telling her how beautiful she is. It's making her wonder why you haven't yet. She starts leaning in. Not just physically, psychologically. She scans for clues. She replays your pauses. The words you didn't say. The moments you let her speak without rewarding her theatrics. And something shifts. She starts adjusting herself, fixing her hair, picking better stories, slowing her voice. She's not doing it consciously, but she's trying to earn something. Something she can't name yet. Your respect. And that more than your approval is what pulls her deeper. It's not about playing hard to get... That's juvenile. It's about being hard to impress. You've tasted depth. You've suffered. You've built. You've bled. You've seen beauty that didn't need makeup and betrayal that wore a smile. So no, a cute smirk and a low-cut dress aren't enough. You don't say that out loud. You don't need to. She sees it in your eyes. You're a man who's known temptation and turned it down. A man who doesn't confuse attention with value. She can feel that. And it unsettles her. Because every woman knows. Deep down, when she meets a man she can't manipulate, her whole nervous system detects it. There's a difference between he's nice and he's unfazed. And the latter is what sticks in her memory at 2 a.m. After the bar, after the laughs, after the flirtations have faded, when she's alone again, checking her phone, wondering why you didn't text. That's when it starts. You have to understand something most men never learn. Her attraction doesn't peak when you validate her. It spikes when you resist her pull. Not rudely, not coldly, just indifferently. You see her charm. You even appreciate it. But you're not spellbound by it. You're not a moth to her flame. You're the fire she wasn't prepared to touch. The moment she senses that, she drops her mask. Her jokes shift. Her voice softens. Her eyes search. You've just entered the rare category she doesn't want to lose. But here's the catch. This only works when it's real. You can't fake it. You can't pretend not to be impressed while secretly obsessing over her. That energy leaks out. Women feel it. They feel when you're acting. They feel when your silence is a tactic, not your nature. They feel when your calm is a disguise, not a habit. So you have to build the real thing. You have to become the man whose standards are shaped by something deeper than beauty or validation. A man who doesn't flinch just because she's smiling, and that takes time. That takes solitude. You have to sit with your own boredom, your own hunger, your own insecurity. You have to meet the part of you that needs her approval and strip it out like a tumor. Because as long as that part exists, she owns you. She may not even mean to, but she will use it. Not maliciously. Just instinctively. Women chase power. And when they sense that you've given them yours, they don't feel gratitude. They feel disappointment. So instead, you hold your frame. Not by puffing your chest, but by staying centered. Let her laugh too loudly. Let her make the first move. Let her wait. Let her wonder. You're not avoiding her. You're just not orbiting her. You've got weight, direction, purpose. She's free to join, but you're not bending your path just to make her feel desired. Because here's the paradox. The less you try to impress her, the more she gets impressed. Not by your looks, not by your words, but by your center. That unshakable axis inside you that says, I already know who I am. I already know what I want. And it doesn't hinge on whether or not you stay. That's the kind of gravity she can't escape. So when she starts testing you when she pulls away, delays her reply, flirts with distraction you don't chase, you don't panic, you don't lecture, you don't protest, you observe. And if her energy is no longer aligned with yours, you exit. Not loudly, Not dramatically, just quietly, decisively. You don't teach her a lesson. You are the lesson, and she'll feel it when you're gone. Not because you raised your voice, but because your absence is heavier than most men's presence. She'll try to replace that feeling. She'll go out, post more, wear the outfit you didn't comment on. Text guys who flood her inbox with dopamine, but it doesn't hit the same, because none of them make her feel. They react, they chase, they perform, and that's the difference. You weren't just another fan in the stadium. You were the arena itself. You weren't trying to be seen. You were the sight. When you walked away, she didn't lose a man. She lost the only mirror that didn't distort her image. Because you didn't inflate her ego. You exposed it. You didn't drown her in praise, and you left space for her to step into. And she either rose to meet it or collapsed into noise. That's what presence does. It doesn't command attention with volume. It invites clarity through stillness. You were a calm she couldn't shake, a mystery she couldn't decode. And now she's in withdrawal because women don't remember what made them feel safe. They remember what made them feel awake. But that kind of presence isn't found on pickup forums or polished dating reels. It comes from being a man who has nothing to prove. A man who knows the weight of his silence, who can look at beauty and not flinch, who can sit across from desire and stay seated in his worth, who doesn't need her to validate his masculinity because he's already confronted the parts of himself that most men avoid. His shame, his chaos, his fear of being not enough. And once you've met that darkness, once you've survived it, you don't get impressed by pretty stories anymore. You watch, you listen, and you choose. See, she wants to be chosen, but only by the man who doesn't need to. That's what hooks her. Not your compliments, not your attention, not your pursuit, but your capacity to walk away, your ability to stay unmoved when every other man would fold, because that shows her something rare. It shows her you've got access to a world deeper than hers, a world she now wants to enter but isn't sure she'll be invited into, so she starts shifting, testing, trying. She sends a picture. You glance, then put the phone down. She throws out bait. You smile, but don't bite. She tells you you're hard to read and you say nothing. Because she's not supposed to read you. She's supposed to feel you. And when she does, when that feeling lands, it bypasses her logic. It drops into her body, into her instincts. She may not even like it, but she'll crave it. Because it makes her feel something that compliments never could respect. You didn't flatter her into affection. You gave her a standard, and whether she rose to meet it or ran from it, that standard stays with her. It echoes in the quiet moments, in the nights where the mirror doesn't lie, in the texts she writes, then deletes, because you weren't trying to win her, you were testing her too. Calmly, silently, and now that you're gone, she realizes the game was never in her hands. It was in yours the entire time. But let's say she reaches back out. Months later, a soft message, an old memory, a random hello. That's not nostalgia. That's gravity. That's her psyche trying to find what it couldn't control. And your move here is everything. You don't rush in. You don't pour out what you've been holding back. You respond with the same stillness that made her spiral in the first place. Not because you're punishing her, but because you're protecting what you've built. Your self-respect, your sovereignty, your silence. Because here's the rawest truth of all, the less you need to be liked. The more powerful you become, when her validation stops being your fuel, her attention becomes optional. And paradoxically, that's when she gives it freely. That's when she leans forward, when she listens deeper, when she stares longer. Not because you tried to impress her, but because you didn't. You don't get women addicted to your compliments. You get them addicted to your composure.